Most music sounds generic because people reuse the same type of drum beats over and over again. The truth is, a common skill gap for music creators is rhythm, and it's one of the major reasons why so much music sounds boring. So in this video, I'm going to show you 10 rare drum patterns and how to use them to level up your tracks and make your music sound unique. Most producers have a surface level understanding of rhythm, which is arguably the most foundational element of music. Rhythm isn't only about making better drum beats and cool percussion layers, it's its own language. And if you learn to speak it, it will transform everything you create. The best chord progressions, bass lines, and melodies all have a very strong sense of rhythm behind them. So the goal here isn't just to teach you these patterns, it's to give you the tools to develop your own rhythmic vocabulary and style by using them. When I started making music, I knew how drums worked on a surface level, but I had no clue about the deeper nuance behind advanced patterns. I couldn't play anything more than a basic rock beat or program a simple MIDI pattern in my DAW. In other words, I was limited in how I could express myself rhythmically. This changed when I got obsessed with Rock Band 2. Remember that game? Specifically by playing songs on drums using that flimsy plastic controller that comes with the game. I played the shit out of it and got so good that I was playing technical songs near perfectly on the hardest difficulty. And at that level, you're essentially playing what the drummer performed on the recording. This secretly taught me how to approach rhythm like a drummer. Eventually, I got myself a real drum kit, and for the first time in history, a video game actually gave me real life skills. Thinking about the physics of a drummer and the limitations of four limbs is the key to creating pro-sounding rhythms. When a human plays drums, there's specific mechanics at play. There's a ton of variation in the power of each hit and how certain patterns feel when you play them, and the ergonomics of how the body can move. This matters because listeners are subconsciously used to hearing rhythms with dynamics from drumming circles and stuff from our ancestral past. In general, if a human can't play it, it will usually be too static to maintain interest or too busy for the brain to handle. And in both cases, listeners tune out. Now that we've covered that, let's move into the 10 patterns that you can use as a cheat code for mastering rhythm and get a unique sound. Let's get started. We're going to move through these patterns in 3 groups, starting simple, then moving into more advanced techniques. These concepts show up in every genre imaginable, so I'm going to use specific songs across a variety of styles so we can focus on the underlying principles that you can apply to whatever you want to create. Then if you want, you can listen to the pattern in the context of the reference track itself, which will make these concepts click much faster. Group 1. Human patterns. When I'm in the studio with a pro behind the kit, they don't play rigidly to the click, they dance with it. And that's what these patterns will show you and how you can recreate it. Ghost notes are very soft hits played between the main backbeats, usually on the snare or hi-hat. The backbeat stays exactly where you'd expect it, usually on beats 2 and 4, but between those hits, the snare hand is subtly tapping at low velocity. You can't always clearly hear them in a mix, but you can absolutely feel them. They're what separates a groove that feels played from one that feels programmed. Rocks on the pavement underneath my shoe. I care less and less about you. So in the DAW and the piano roll, here's what this groove looks like in MIDI notes with all of the velocity visible. So I'm just going to give it a play so you can hear what the groove sounds like. Okay, so a pretty simple groove, but the thing to emphasize is the difference in velocity in some of the hits. So as we can see, the backbeat on 2 and 4, these snare velocities are quite high down here, right? But all of these other notes, this snare, and this snare, are quite a bit lower velocity. Okay, and that's what gives these snare hits a ghost note feel, because they're not a full backbeat, they're a little bit more textured notes. And the same goes for the kick. The second kick has a little less velocity than the first one, and it's this difference in velocity that really gives this beat a push and pull. And if you're playing this groove on something like a MIDI controller or a real drum kit, notice how a drummer will typically have their hand loose on a snare to pepper in ghost notes around the main backbeat. And in this kind of groove, the backbeat is really falling on the 2 and 4. right? So those snares are the backbeat, and then all of the other snare hits are kind of peppered around the main pulse of hitting that backbeat, and it has a specific feel. So it'd be something like, the key element is the velocity contrast. The backbeat snare hits hard and loud. The ghost note hits are noticeably softer. On a real snare, the tone will change depending how hard you hit it too. That's where multi-sample tools like Superior Drummer 3 outshine a drum kit built with static samples. In your DAW, that means drawing or playing soft snare hits between your backbeat, like 20 to 40% velocity. This adds texture without changing the entire beat. If you want a system that will help you take what we learned in this video and apply it directly to finished songs, I made a free guide for my entire production system called Workflow Wizardry. It's a 7-step process that will guide you through everything you need from your first idea to a finished master. You can grab it with the link below. This is a staple of D'Angelo, J Dilla, Flying Lotus, etc. when the drummer intentionally pushes or drags the kick and snare against the main timekeeping element, usually the hi-hat, or vice versa. It can be slightly early, slightly late, or subtly flammed. If you're used to only seeing MIDI on the grid, this might look off to you, but it has way more swagger than a robotically perfect rhythm.
Looking through the misty steam, down the dark hallway.
We're in the DAW again. I'm going to show you this drum beat, both quantized and one that I played, so you can really see the difference of this kind of stagger swing kind of feel. And before I play this pattern, this is a pattern in 5/4, but the way that I would count it again is as 2 groups of 4 and 1 group of 2. So let me count along so you can get your head around this groove. It's really cool. So I'd count it 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, on and on. So as you can see, this is the groove that I've programmed in. All the velocities are the same and everything's on the grid. Okay, and this is what it sounds like. So it gets the notes that are being hit and the pattern. However, it totally misses the feel. So I'm going to stop this clip and play another one that I've played in. Okay, and this is what this one sounds like. Okay, so what's the difference here? To me, this sounds completely different. And the key is that, first of all, I played it in, so there's a lot of velocity difference, sounds more realistic. But the key that I want to point out here is that this open hi-hat and the closed hi-hat pattern are being flammed against the kick and the snare that are landing very close to the grid, right? So as you can see, the kick is landing pretty much on the grid, and then the hi-hat is flamming behind it. And then this thing is playing behind the grid. And then same here for when the snare hits on the next downbeat or the next count, the hi-hat is slightly behind, right? They're flammed. And this is what creates that stagger kind of swing. And everything's kind of trailing behind. So if I play this drum groove with the metronome now, notice how it feels like it's pulling back. An easy way to get this kind of feel under your hands or your fingers is to subtly flam the main timekeeping element against the kick and snare that are landing a little bit more close to the grid. So if I were to show you this drum groove, if we played everything together and really static, it would sound like... right? But that's really not getting the feel of this groove. So the first way to get into this kind of feel is to flam the kick and the snare against the hi-hat, right? So I'm going to lead with the kick and the snare and then play the hi-hat slightly behind. So it would sound something like... okay, and then if you do that in combination with playing slightly behind the metronome, you can get way closer to the feel of this beat. 2, 3, 4, 5. A triplet is when you think in groups of 3 inside a normal 4 count. A secret unlock for this is to picture a drummer alternating their hands to accent every third note. If you can picture that, you'll get the feel of triplets. Once you hear it, you'll recognize it everywhere. Trap beats, jazz, gospel, prog rock, you name it. It's an easy way to switch up the feel and add energy without changing the main pulse. Back in the DAW here, looking at this drum groove, and the key with this drum groove is to make sure that your grid inside the DAW is set to a triplet grid. Then everything will line up. All of these hi-hats and even the kick and snare pattern line up perfectly on this triplet grid because the whole groove follows this kind of rolling 3 pulse. So this is what the beat sounds like. So notice that even though we're still counting 1, 2, 3, 4, right? We're in a 4/4 timing. We're just changing the grid so that we're counting a subdivision of triplets and getting 12 triplet notes, right? So you could think of it as 12/8, but we're going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's really the feel of this. And a great way to get the feel of triplets under your hands, or even just be able to conceptualize how to program it more realistically, is to alternate your hands on either the same pad or 2 pads with the same sound, and emphasizing 3s, but alternating the one that you're emphasizing with each hand. So let me show you what I mean. So if we're going to be doing something similar to that groove, we're thinking da 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 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, right? And the way that a drummer would do that on a hi-hat would be to go right left right 1 2 3 and then 4 5 6 left right left, right? Right? So you get that feeling of 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, and because of that, you're going to be emphasizing the right hand 1 2 3, and then the left hand left right left, right left right left right left. That changes the feel that you get behind playing a roll like this, and also will inform which hits will be louder than the other ones. Obviously, the accents will be louder than the in-between notes. Group 2. These patterns make the difference between a track that has a realistic rhythm and one that has something truly unique. Many producers feel like their rhythms start to sound disconnected once they try to make something more complex. So these patterns will give you a path to sophistication without losing the groove. Clave, those 2 percussive bars that you hear in Latin songs, is not only an instrument, it's a rhythmic tool for creating different accented phrases by combining different groups of 2 and 3. So for example, instead of counting 2 bars like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, you count it 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 4. Same pulse, completely different feel. The powerful thing is that when you break down any feel into 2s and 3s and accent the one of each group, you naturally get a unique asymmetric pattern. And these types of rhythms are the foundation of Afro-Cuban music as well as most Latin-influenced pop. All right, let's break down this pattern in the DAW. So I programmed it. This is what it sounds like. Epic groove, super catchy, really fun. And the first thing is that I would count this like 3 2 3 instead of just counting 4. You could totally count this in 4 and be fine, which would sound like this. 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. But let's go 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3. When you count it that way, you line up with how the kick pattern is, and you get more into the feel of the groove and the hi-hat. Now, for the hi-hat pattern, I think that this is where this groove is really special. The way that I would count it, like I said, is one group of 4, okay? Then one group of 3, then one group of 2, one group of 3 again, and then a last group of 4. As if you can see, when I highlight this first group, you can see the velocity that I am implying what it would be like to go right, left with the right dominant hand drummer, right? So hit 1 and 3 are louder than 2 and 4, and it's accenting this group of 4, how you would play if you were alternating your hands on a hi-hat. Then the next group of 3, again, I'm starting 1, 2, 3, right? The 1 and the 3 are louder than the 2 for this little group. And then again, another group of 2, we're going 1, 2, the first group being louder, the first note being louder. Again, another group of 3, same principle, and then the same thing with the last group of hi-hats. And what this does is it creates that 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 pattern that really is the groove, right? So listen closely for the hi-hat pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I also wanted to give you a little bit of insight on how this groove would look and feel if you played it on a pad or a hi-hat, right? It's just specific accents with a consistent alternating pattern with the hands, right? So in this case, we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, then 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So if we do that, notice the kind of feel that we get. We get right? And that's how you get the feel of this groove. And then again, those open hi-hats land on the one of the last two groups, right? So it would be Additive rhythm takes the same idea behind clave and just pushes it farther. In this case, you can think of combinations of 2s and 3s that add up to whatever total you want. This is how Indian classical music and modern progressive music create complex feels that still feel grounded. When you break down rhythms like this, the body can still feel the groupings, even if the time signature is weird. All right, so let's break down this Radiohead groove in the DAW. I'll give you a play of what it sounds like, and then we'll break it down in detail. All right, so the key here is that there's a lot going on, and it's in a weird timing, but the key is your body can still move and groove to this. Like you can feel this and dance to this, which I think is what makes this groove so good. And the first thing I want to point out is that Radiohead have a drummer that are playing a groove, but they also layer in electronic samples as a percussion layer as well. So to start, I'm going to stop the extra percussion layer and we're going to focus in on the drums and then bring in the percussion layer and talk about that. Okay, so the first thing about this groove is that instead of counting it in 5, I would definitely count it in subdivisions that are smaller and a group of 3 and 2. So this is what it would sound like counting in 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And like that works, but it doesn't give you a lot of information into how this beat is structured. So how I would count it is in 2 groups of 3 and 2 groups of 2, which would sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Okay, and if we break down the groove with that lens and we look at the first group of 3, right, we can see that, oh, we're landing with a kick on the 1 of that group of 3 notes with this cool little ghost snare notes. And then the hi-hat is keeping us grounded in quarter notes in the 5 pulse, right? And then if we look at the next group of 3, again, we're starting it off with the snare. And then we have this little hi-hat. The next group of 2, there are 2 kicks landing on each of these 2 notes. And then the last group of 2, you have a snare landing, right? So if you count it that way, you're lining up with the accents of what the drummer is actually doing, okay? So that's basically what's going on here. And then we have the hi-hat that's keeping us pulsing with the quarter note of the 5/4. Now, here's where things get really crazy and discombobulating is if we look at this percussion layer, okay? So with this percussion layer on the drums, we kind of get this cacophony of rhythm. So I'm going to stop the drum loop for now so we can just focus in on the percussion layer and we'll give it a listen. Okay, so here we have basically a clap sample and this like digital snare sound. Okay, and this digital snare sound, notice how syncopated it is, meaning that we're emphasizing a lot of the offbeats of this 5 pulse. Okay, so that's what gives it a kind of tension, is that we're really syncopating on the offbeats of the 5 pulse. Okay, so if we were just to listen to this snare sample, for example, right? So notice how all of these hits pretty much are really emphasizing an offbeat or a weak beat. So it's really moving against the metronome. Like if you listen to the metronome, right? These notes are all landing on the offbeats of this metronome. Okay, so when we have this layered in with the real drums, it creates a lot of push and pull. And then if we only listen to this clap layer, we have this other pattern that's landing a little bit more on with the pulse of the quarter notes, but we're emphasizing an offbeat here. Right, so even just within this percussion layer, we have one that's very syncopated and the other one that's landing a lot more on the quarter note pulse. And then when you layer this in with the full drums, you get this crazy if you're watching this and getting all this stuff conceptually, but applying it to finishing tracks is still a problem, that's exactly what Workflow Wizardry is for. It's a free PDF, 7 stages, walks you through the whole process. You can grab it in the description. Odd time signatures are simply when you count an odd number of beats in each bar. 3 and 4 are quite common. Less common is 5, 7, 9, 11, and so on. The problem most artists face when they try to work in an odd time signature is that they try to force the face value of the time signature to work. So for example, they'll play something with a 4/4 feel, and then they'll just count 7 and jarringly restart in the middle of a phrase. If that's your intention, cool. But ideally, you want to be able to nod your head to something, even if it's an odd time groove. The goal isn't to be smart, it's to be able to explore unique patterns that still groove. If you can't naturally pulse around with it, even if it's weird, your audience won't either. All right, let's break down the intro of Spoon Man. This tune is epic. I'll give you a taste of what it sounds like. All right, so this is an epic groove, and it's in 7/4 timing. Now, you could totally count 7, and it would line up with when this riff restarts. Let me count along with you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7. Cool. But to me, like, you're missing out really what the groove implies, right? Like, you're not really aligning yourself with what the drummer is doing. So to do that, what I would count is smaller subdivisions that match what the drums are actually accenting, right? So if we look at these drums and we look at the velocities, the interesting thing about these patterns is that the accent is falling at the end of the groups, right? So with this group of 5, the accent is the last note. This group of 2, the accent is the second note, so on and so forth, right? So if we really listen to the toms, it's implying subdivisions with all of these accents that pop up, okay? So the way that I would break this down is to first look at a group of 4, okay? And then we're going to do groups of 3. So we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. And notice that when we do that, right, if we look at this group of 4, cool, we're accenting the one with a crash. And then we have this group of 3, which we're accenting the end of this first group of 5 toms in a row with this last hit right here, right? That's the first pulse of this group of 3. And then the next group of 3 is accented again by the end of this second group, right? The second note here is the louder note of the 2, which starts the next group of 3, 1, 2, 3. And that same thing happens again and again. And then we go into a pattern of 4 once again. And then finally, we finalize with a pattern of 8. So the way that I would count this is in a higher resolution of subdivisions with those groups of 4 and 3, and it would sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? At that point, you line up way more with what this groove is doing on the toms. And then just like the last example, there is another layer that I found that will solo what it's doing so we can hear, that just has like these hand percussions and these like offbeat hi-hats that just add to all of the rhythmic craziness that's happening in the intro of this tune. So this is what the percussion layer sounds like. So notice how almost every accent with these shakers, right, when they start, happen on an offbeat or a weak beat of the pulse. And then all of these things are essentially almost all syncopated. So on top of this crazy, awesome groove with the drums, we have these syncopated percussions layered underneath, which gives it this really cool groove. Group 3. These will really challenge your sense of rhythm and give you an undeniable rhythmic edge. Don't worry if they feel out there or unattainable for you. Once we break them down, and with a little practice, they're simpler than they sound. Polyrhythm is when two rhythmic ideas happen simultaneously and overlap in repeating cycles. Common combinations are 3/2 and 4/3. Two patterns cycling at different speeds over the same pulse, creating a tension that only resolves when they land back together on the 1. Let's check out the polyrhythmic pattern from Gojira. So this is what it sounds like. All right, so this creates a lot of tension and release because there's two different rhythms going on here. So what's really going on here? Well, an easy way to break this down is to start isolating what elements are playing which rhythm. Okay, so if I just go ahead and mute the kick and the hi-hat and we just listen to the snare, okay, the snare is essentially just playing the third beat in a simple 4/4 count in a 3-bar pattern. Okay, so basically we're just counting 1, 2, 3, 4, and the snare is going to land on 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Very simple. It's just the backbeat is solidly in a 4/4 count, but it's just 3 bars of 4/4. So you could look at it as 3/4, whatever you want to do. But the key is just that the snare is really keeping the subdivision of quarter notes, right? Now, if I mute the snare, okay, and bring in the kick, right, we can hear that the kick is emphasizing a pattern that's every 3 notes, okay? And we're counting kind of 16th notes here, right? So you could just think as 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, very quick. Right, so it's like super quick, faster than I can scat, okay? And you can already hear that with this kick alone with the metronome, right, we already get the core of this polyrhythm. So I'll bring back the snare, keep the metronome on, and now we can hear that it takes this length of time. It takes 3 bars of 4/4 for both of these patterns to line back up again. Okay, and then the last layer here is that we have a hi-hat emphasizing this triplet groove. All right, so real quick, I'm just going to give you a quick demo of what this would look like with your hands if you want to attempt to play this, and I'm totally going to butcher it, but just another way to conceptualize it, right? So essentially what we're doing is just holding down 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 with the kick and hi-hat, and then we're moving that backbeat, right? So it would look something like... Polyrhythm is an excellent way to explore more complex rhythmic relationships and create a hypnotic and entrancing feel. Explore the interaction of any two rhythms together, and you'll have built-in tension and release. We've explored this idea in a few other patterns, but this groove is centralized around this concept. Time signature modulation is simply when the number you count inside a bar changes while still following the same pulse. So the rhythm moves through different time signatures in sequence. This creates an unsettled, spiraling feeling that avoids predictability, especially when some of those time signatures are odd timings. But once the listener can lock into the flow of it, it becomes a deeply satisfying experience. Sometimes you got to challenge the listener, yo. Let's break down the super unique, but also slightly disorienting groove. This is what it sounds like. We'll play it and then we'll break it down. All right, so what on earth is going on here? Well, the first thing is that in the recording in the intro, there's an audible delay on the drums, which I emulated. So I'm going to turn off the delay so we can hear what the drums are doing without that added delay. Like at first listen, it's really hard to figure out what's going on here. And the reason why is that if we try to count this with the pulse, first of all, it's not obvious what the pulse is in the music, and that's intentional, I think. And if we count based on the pulse, say we try to do like a 9 count, we miss out on really how this groove should feel. So if I were to try and count with the pulse, it's actually very difficult with this drum groove, right? So we're listening to the metronome, and I'm just going to stop the drums, right? So if we're listening to the metronome, we'd want to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And you could do that, but you're going to miss out really on how the groove works. But notice that when you try to count in a straight quarter note rhythm like this, that is extremely hard to keep on that pulse, right? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Like that's really, really hard. And that's why I feel like this groove is a little bit disorienting, because in this drum beat, there's nothing really implying a higher subdivision, but I would actually only interpret this in a higher subdivision. So to do that, I'm going to go over this other clip that I've created over here. And this shows the rhythm that I would break this down into. And what this is pretty simple. It's just groups of 5, but in 1/8 notes. So instead of counting this pulse, right, we're going twice as fast. Right, so we're going with a super high subdivision, and we're doing 6 groups of 5. And the way that I would count that is 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Right, so very quickly would be 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 6 times. And then the last group is the turnover, where we have a group of 6, which I could count 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so what this totals is we got 6 groups of 5/8 and 1 group of 6/8, and it's this last group of 6/8 that feels disorienting. Okay, but if we start counting this type of rhythm on top of the pulse, then we can start to feel what this drum beat is doing. One, two, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so it's tricky to count, but let's give it a shot. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's why this groove specifically, you want to count it in 1/8 notes instead of quarter notes, right? Because if you're left trying to count this with the pulse, it's going to disorient you. Polymeter is when 2 different time signatures run simultaneously over the same pulse. The tempo never changes. There's just 2 different lengths of each pattern cycle over multiple bars of music. They drift apart and then snap back together after a long time, and that drift is the feature of this concept.
Feel the rhythm to feel connected.
Let's break down this mind-melting groove. So what we got going on is a polymeter, meaning that the drums and the bass, and actually the guitar as well, are all playing different timings at the same time. And it takes a long time, many bars, before it finally realigns together. So to do this, the first thing that we'll do is break down what the drums are doing, and then we'll break down what the bass is doing, which is very simple. And then I'll show you how this overlaps. So to start, we'll just focus on the drums, and you could think of this in 5/4. So we're counting 5. Okay. And basically it's nothing too crazy. The way I would look at it is 2 groups of 5 with the hi-hat. Okay. And then we have a kick pattern starting off the first group of 5, and then we have a snare landing on the second. So if I were to just mute this kick and the snare for now, okay, we just have this pattern of 5 where we're accenting the 1 and the 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's kind of creating this pulse. And then when we bring in the snare is landing on the 4 of the second group of 5, right? So it creates this cool backbeat. Okay, pretty simple. And then we have a kick that's hitting the first 4 counts of the first group of 5, the 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, that's a sick groove in 5. Right, so what the bass is doing is super simple, just playing in 6 instead. So all the bass is doing is hitting 4 notes on the first 4 counts of a 6 count. Cool. So how you could count this with the bass is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or just a 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's all the bass is doing over and over. Now, the crazy thing happens when we combine both. I'm going to open up the drums again and trigger both. Listen to what happens. Crazy. So what is actually happening here? Well, the first thing I'll do is I'm going to put my playhead where the bass restarts in the context of the drum pattern. Okay. Because what's happening is the drums is we're playing in 5 and the bass is playing in 6. So they're not going to overlap until a certain amount of time. So they start off aligned where these kicks are lined up with the bass, but then the bass is going to move forward in time in relation to the drum beat as to where it restarts. So let's show you that so you can see it. Now it's going to restart. An easy way to visualize this on the DAW timeline is to just spread them both out. So if we look at the drum pattern and split the whole phrase into 2, again, they're groups of 5, right? And then over here, if I highlight this block, this clip, it's a group of 6 notes, right? So it only aligns, like notice where the bass restarts relative to the drum pattern. And it takes a while before they actually realign to start back together again right here. So you can see that they have a relationship that only resolves after this amount of time. If I select this and loop it, you'll notice that this is when the bass and the drums realign again to start together. Before we get into the last one, the reason most producers never develop a unique rhythmic vocabulary isn't because they don't know enough patterns or enough concepts or techniques. It's because they don't have a process to consistently apply what they know to finished music. And applying these ideas directly into a musical context is what will make it stick and help you find what resonates with you. All right, this is where everything we've covered stops being a choice between options and starts happening simultaneously. The most advanced drummers and producers don't pick one rhythmic concept and apply it to a track. They layer multiple techniques at once so that the groove is many things at the same time without any single element necessarily becoming too obvious. Finding these unique combinations is what can make your music truly become one of one. let's break down this groove that starts off the bridge of this song. This is what it sounds like. Okay, this is a super awesome groove with a ton of swing. And to start off, let's actually go ahead and break down just the first half of this section, which is a little bit more simple, and then it gets into a little bit more complex of a groove. So the way that I would start off interpreting this is thinking of a triplet feel, right? Like we're counting threes instead of fours inside this four count, okay? So the way I would count it is 4 groups of 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we go back to 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you can get that groove, then you'll lock in with this entire pattern, okay? And then if we move to when it starts to go into the beat, okay, now we add in a snare and hi-hat in a more consistent pattern. And the first thing I want to emphasize is that the same thing is happening. It's the same core architecture where we're counting triplet feel, groups of 3, okay? And then at the end, we're going into a group of 4. But here we're adding in a snare that's kind of accenting off from the start of the triplet, right? And again, it's definitely behind the grid. Okay, so it's intentionally pulling us back from the pulse of this tune. So this is what it sounds like. Okay, so the kick is emphasizing the start of all of these 3 counts, but the snare is like landing in a way that's really flammed and really pulls us back into the music. Everything is lining up with this triplet grid for the most part in the beginning of this groove. But if we go back to a normal grid, you'll notice that these hi-hats, right? If we go to a higher subdivision, like 16th notes or even 32nd notes and zoom in, like these hi-hats are lining up pretty close to 32nd notes in a normal 4/4 pulse. This is clearly in a triplet feel, 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. However, the hi-hat is something more akin to the 4 pulse where we're like 1 2 3 4, or 8th notes 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. That kind of pulse underneath the 1 2 3 1 2 3, right? So there's kind of this polyrhythm going on, and that's what makes this thing feel so unkiltered. That's a ton of concepts from this video happening simultaneously: triplet feel, swing, time signature mod, etc. So the insight, first of all, is that you don't need to hit this crazy level of technicality. The point is showing you this so you can see what's possible to help you find combinations that you think sound cool, no matter how simple or complex they are. So here's what I want you to do is find what vibes with you from this video and then experiment with combining them with something you're actively working on. And that's how you're going to start to find your unique vocabulary that actually builds. But strong and unique rhythms are just one important part of writing amazing songs, which is the whole point of learning this stuff anyway. That's exactly what I cover in this video. So click the card on screen and I'll see you there next.